Evening, everybody. I know it's still pretty early right now, but I thought I'd come in early. So if you have any questions about the class or anything that you want to ask, definitely feel free to do so. You can either turn on your mic or put it in the chat.
Hey professor,
Hey,
how's your break?
it was good. Yeah, I moved to a new place. So this place is a little bit nicer. So I'm not lecturing from my living room anymore. So we have a little bit of a loft. So that's nice. I'm engaged, so I proposed to my then girlfriend. So she said yes. So now we're happily engaged.
Oh my gosh, how cute. When did you propose? Like during New Year's or something? Or
Oh,
Christmas?
it was on Christmas actually. Uh, so I was actually hoping so I took her to the place where we had our first date, which is this park in Hacienda Heights, and I was hoping that no one would be there on Christmas and that I could propose in peace, but that was not the case. So I took her up to a spot, kind of like it's on kind of like a hill, so you can kind of see the town from there. And I was like, we were kind of standing there awkwardly for like 15 minutes, and I was waiting for people to disperse, but it just wasn't happening. So I waited until there was only just one like old Korean grandma, and then I popped the question. So which was
Well,
nice because then the grandma helped us take pictures. So that was nice.
oh, how sweet. Congratulations. I'm
Thank
very
you.
happy for you.
Thank
Yeah.
you. How about you? How was your break?
It wasn't really much of a break, just in between school and all the other stuff. Unfortunately, my dad got COVID, so
Mm,
we were really worried about him. But
mm.
other than that, I guess it was okay, right?
Nice. Is your dad feeling better?
Yeah, he actually barely got out of the hospital, so we're trying to take care of him like while I'm in school. My sister takes care of him, and then when she's at work, like, and I'm not at school, I go and take care of him.
Mm,
Yeah. But
I see.
luckily, yeah, luckily he was the one of the ones that made it out of the hospital. So I mean, I'm grateful for that or thankful for that.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, I hope he feels better.
Thank you. How's your cat doing? Does he like the new place?
Yeah, actually, surprisingly, she we were worried because like she's old, so we were worried that she was going to like be really stressed out, but it took her like no time at all to get accustomed to it.
Oh wow, that's nice to hear. Yeah. My sister has a cat and she stayed in the bathtub for the longest time until she
Oh,
got used to her new place.
oh. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what usually happens. Yeah, you take a cat to a new place and then they find somewhere to hide and then they just stay there.
Yeah, they're funny little creatures.
Mhm. All right. So people coming in, so welcome to this is EGME 417. So my name is Professor Justin Tran. So we still have about 10 more minutes. So if you have any questions about the class or anything that I can answer, definitely, just feel free to ask right now. You can either turn on your mic or you can put in the chat. Either one is fine with me. But we'll wait until 5:30 to officially start. Can you guys hear the trombone going in the back?
Yes, but
Okay.
not like to a point where it's distracting. At least not
Okay.
for me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only thing about this place is that there are one of our neighbors practices trombone, and like he does it like at all hours of the day too. So like sometimes it'll not wake us up because it's not that loud, but like we'll hear it early in the morning, and sometimes it's like in the evening like this too. It's usually Disney songs too, so like yeah, so it's kind of funny.
You guys can use it to your advantage during Valentine's Day. Free concert.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
Are you excited to teach the class Tuesdays and Thursdays for cardiovascular? I know that that's what you were studying in, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's a brand new class. I am excited. It's the first class I've really designed. Well, not really from scratch. Excuse me, because I've my old advisor basically taught a class like that too. So I've kind of modified it for this situation and things like that too. But I'm excited. I think hopefully everyone thinks it's really cool.
Nice. It sounds really cool.
So for those of you guys just coming in, so we still have a few more minutes before the class starts. So if you have any questions about the class, or for me, definitely, feel free to ask it either in the chat or use your microphone too. But yeah, we'll get started in a little bit. All right. All right, it's 5:30, so let's go ahead and get started today. All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to, first of all, welcome to the spring semester. So we're in for another full semester of virtual teaching. So I'm coming to you live from my my apartment. And also welcome to EGME 417. So this is an elective class titled Computational Heat Transfer. Okay. So my name is Professor Justin Tran. If you had me before, you know I'm not particular about what you call me, so you can call me Professor Justin. I've seen Dr. Justin before. You know, whatever whatever floats your fancy, I'm okay with. And I'm going to be your instructor for today. Okay. So the plan for today is I have some introduction slides just to kind of introduce what this class is all about, what you can kind of expect from the class, and then I'm going to give you a tour of the course website, which is on Canvas, just so everyone knows where everything is. And then we're going to go through the syllabus. Okay. So I didn't have anything more planned for that. So I think we'll wait until Wednesday to really start, with the stuff. So today's just kind of just an introduction. Okay. Professor Justin Trudeau, if you want, yeah. I don't think I'll ever meet him, so I don't think he'll be mad if I use his name. Okay. So anytime today, if you have any questions, definitely, put them through the chat or turn on your mic and ask. I want to keep this kind of casual. So, definitely feel free to ask anything you want. Okay. Okay. So a little bit about myself. So this semester is unique. So normally my office is on campus, but since we can't be on campus, my office is just going to be my apartment. Okay. So my email is easy to remember. So it's justran@fullerton.edu. Okay? I joke all the time that I think I might have stolen this email from some running club at Cal State Fullerton, but they were gracious enough to give me this. Okay. Oops. That's not good. I can't view the chat and do lecture at the same time. Quick question in the chat. So will lectures be uploaded to Canvas and Titanium? Yes. So the lectures are being recorded right now, and I put them up on YouTube basically right after the lecture, and I put the link to that on Canvas. But we'll talk about that once we get to the tour of the Canvas site. Okay. Okay. Let's see from current slide. Okay. So I grew up locally here. So I grew up in Cyprus. So if you're not sure where that is, it's about maybe 10 miles west of campus. Okay. A bit about my education background. So I got my bachelor's at UCLA, my master's from UCSD, and my PhD at Stanford. So all of this was in mechanical engineering. And in terms of research interests, this class is actually, pretty close to what I like to do for research. So, my research centers around using computational tools to simulate blood flow, so that we can study, the heart and also blood. Okay, and just naturally, just because I'm an instructor in an engineering department, I'm just always interested in what are better ways that we can teach, to make our instruction much more effective. Okay? The question in the chat. So do I have custom emails for Discord? No, I do not. But we can make some throughout the semester if you want. Yeah, that's one thing we can do. Okay. So learning objectives, right? So if you had me as a professor before, you know I love my learning objectives. But at the beginning of every class, basically what you can expect is a list of these objectives. Okay, so you can think of them almost as like an outline for what we plan to cover in the lecture that day. So usually I'll have 3 or 4 or 5 of these that will outline kind of what I plan to do. Okay, just to kind of stay organized. But their purpose kind of goes a little bit deeper than that too, right? And so if you'll notice from all these learning objectives, as you'll see throughout the semester, I always start them with a verb of some kind. Okay, and so and that's on purpose. And the reason for that is I basically want to tell you what you should be able to do at the end of a lecture, at the end of a unit, or the end of a week or something. Okay, and so after we go through the lecture, and what you should do is you should go back and look at the learning objectives and see, and look at them and read them. Say, let's take the first one here. So the first one will be describe the use and utility of simulation tools for performing engineering work with heat transfer and fluid mechanics. Okay. And so by the end of today's lecture, you should be able to do exactly that. Okay. And so you can almost think of these as I write them almost as like questions that could show up on like a homework or an exam. Okay. And so, if you can answer these learning objectives and if you can perform them, then you're basically good to go for the class. Because I basically, whenever I design a class, I start with these learning objectives and I design basically all the lectures and all the homework assignments and the exams around these. Okay? And so definitely pay attention to these, especially when you're studying for the exams, and they'll help kind of guide your studying as much as possible. Okay. So let's start talking about this this particular class, right? So let's start, what the heck is computational heat transfer, and why am I teaching it? Why are we all here? Why is this important? Okay, so let's start with just kind of a textbook definition, or this is kind of the textbook definition that I gave it, right? And so computational heat transfer basically refers to a bunch of techniques or algorithms that we can use to simulate heat transfer in fluids. Okay, and so up to this point, I think everyone's either taken fluid mechanics and heat transfer, or they are taking it right now, right? And so when you took that class, you probably learned about the equations and the concepts behind it, right? And you probably did a lot of problems by hand, okay? And so that's great. So I mean, we're going to use all that information, but probably what you've realized, and you might have realized this in a lot of your other classes too. There's a lot of limitations to what you can actually do with just hand calculations, right? And so you'll probably notice that you're very limited to just very simple geometries or very contrived situations, just because the equations are really complicated, right? And when you start throwing in things like really complicated geometries, or really complicated boundary conditions, or situations, it's basically impossible for you to solve just by hand. Okay, and so the idea with this class is let's take two of at least in my opinion, two of the more difficult classes that you've probably taken in your mechanical engineering curricula, and let's see how we can use computers to actually help us solve these kinds of problems. Okay, and the reason for that is that computers, they're I like to think of computers as both, the smartest things in the world and also the dumbest, right? And so computers are really smart in that they can perform arithmetic and math basically at speeds that are way faster than any human can do, right? You're never going to beat a computer in a math race, okay? And this really helps us, in situations like heat transfer in fluids where they're really difficult to work with normally, right? But if we can use a computer to basically speed up all these calculations, this allows us to look at problems and analyze problems in situations that we normally wouldn't have done before. Okay, and so for engineering, what this allows us to do is this allows us to design and analyze systems with complicated geometries, loading, and boundary conditions that we normally wouldn't be able to do, by hand. Okay, and the reality is, if you're going to be doing professional engineering work, you're not going to be doing, you're not going to be designing, a wood block falling down a hill, right? So there are always going to be situations where you can't fully analyze the system by hand. And so you're going to need to use computers to simulate a lot of these things. And what this class is an introduction to how do we actually write the code to actually, solve these kinds of situations. Okay. All right, so let's do some examples, right? So let's take an example of probably something that you've seen in your heat transfer class, right? And so maybe in the first or second week of 407, probably you solve a situation like this where you have kind of a solid block, right? This could be, like heat transfer through the walls of your room or something, right? And so you have a temperature on one side, a temperature on the other side, you have an area, you have a thermal conductivity, and you can solve for the temperature distribution, right? And so that's fine. If you're designing, thermal insulation for a room, that's okay, right? But if you want to do something like, the heat transfer on like a spinning turbine that might take place in like an airplane or something like that, you won't be able to use, those analytical methods. You're going to have to perform some simulations like shown right here. And you get these really nice, beautiful, like heat maps for like where the temperature is really hot and where the temperature is really cold. Right? Okay, so let's talk about some convection, right? So convection, if you remember from heat transfer, was the heat the heat transfer mode where you have a moving fluid and that enhances your heat transfer. Okay, and so from 407, you probably did a situation like this where you had kind of a flat surface, you had just a simple fluid that's flowing over it, and you can use Newton's law of cooling to help you solve this situation. Okay. But if you wanted to design like a fin array, right? So if you want to design like a computer or cooling system for a computer, you wouldn't be able to use those simple equations. You'd have to rely on simulations to really, give you an accurate idea of, what the heat transfer is going to be like. Okay. And finally, let's throw in an example from fluids, right? And so probably in your fluids class, you did a situation like this where you solve for the the fluid velocity inside of a simple pipe, right? And so this is fine. You can solve Navier-Stokes and everything like that, and it's all good, right? But if you want to do something like this, so this is actually a video, not my own research, but a close colleague of mine. Basically, he was designing an injector pump that would go inside your body, right? And so you can see here we have some very complicated flow structures of like the blood that's going into this kind of tree that's going in right here, right? And if you tried to solve this by hand, with how complex the blood flow is, right? Because blood flow, your heart's pumping, it's always changing with time. You just wouldn't be able to do it. So we basically needed to use simulations in order to produce like a map like this. Okay. So basically the point I'm trying to make is that, if you want to start really analyzing and, designing for systems that are really complicated, you really need to start looking into computers to help you do this kinds of work. Okay. All right. Are there any questions on this so far? Okay. Oh, question? Oh, okay. Okay. And so this class actually is kind of almost like the sister class to EGME 410, which is another course that I'm teaching this semester too. And so 410 is kind of, the idea is kind of the same, right? So 410 is finite elements. And so that might be a term that you guys might have heard before. And finite elements gives you a way to simulate, finite elements is typically used more for structural things. It allows you to do like stress analysis and deformation analysis for things that are too complicated to do by hand. So this is kind of the sister class to that, where we're going to be focusing more on mostly like 95% on heat, and then maybe we'll do a little bit of fluids at the end. Okay, so here's kind of an outline for how the class is going to be. So you can see, obviously, I didn't purchase this software, so they put their ugly watermark all over my image, right? So we're going to start here on the left, and so basically we're going to start with a lot of review, right? And so there's a lot of, this class is going to pull in from a lot of different classes that you've taken before, right? So obviously heat transfer and fluid mechanics, we're going to review a bit of that. But this class is also going to be really heavy on MATLAB programming too. So we're going to spend a lot of time reviewing MATLAB just to make sure everyone's kind of caught up to date on that. Okay. And then from there, we're going to go into the different techniques, or what I call numerical algorithms or techniques that you can use to actually simulate these kinds of phenomena. Okay. And so we're going to start with probably the simplest one, which is called finite differences. Okay. And after that, we're going to do finite volumes. And then at the end of the class, I'm still kind of deciding, we can either do a little bit of CFD, or we can go over some softwares like OpenFOAM. I know there's some interest from the class to get some practice with that too. So maybe I think probably at the end we'll do either one, depending on how the class is going. Okay. Okay, and so if I blow up this diagram a little bit, just to kind of go more into what are all the different kind of topics that we're going into. This is kind of what it looks like. Okay. And so obviously, there's a lot that we're going to cover in this class, and right here, it's going to be hard to know, which, what do we need, you're obviously not going to know everything that's in here, but, what I hope is that as the semester goes along, you can come back to this diagram and you can say, now that we did finite differences, I kind of understand everything in this bubble right here, right? And so this is kind of our road. You can kind of think of it as our roadmap for the entire course. Okay. Okay. And so that kind of begs the question of, why do we need to know the computational techniques, right? Because at this point, there's a lot of softwares out there that can actually just do the work for you, and you don't have to really know what's kind of going on underneath, right? And so we're going to spend a lot of time in this class, learning what's kind of what I call like underneath the hood, or what are all the techniques that are going on in the code, But the question I get every semester is, why do we need to learn why do we need to learn the theory and the concepts when we can just use the software, right? And to that, what I say is that, just like any tool that you use in your engineering work, software is kind of the same thing, right? Software is just simply a tool that you're going to use, right? And just like any tool, it always has its limitations and best practices that need to be really understood in order to use it properly, right? And it's important to know, what situations in which it's not going to work, right? Just kind of a really simple example, like you wouldn't use a screwdriver if you need to, hammer in a nail, right? So if you need to hammer in a nail, you would use a hammer. You wouldn't use a screwdriver for that, right? And so computational techniques are kind of the same thing. So you need to know, when is it appropriate to use, this kind of software versus another one? And when we are using that kind of software, how do we actually use it properly in order to get the results that we need? Okay. Because I think what tends to happen, and I'm guilty of this too more than anyone, is that when we look at kind of a shiny software, like let's take, Antis or something like that, right? And we run a simulation in the software and we kind of take its word as like God, right? Or we take it as gospel, right? And so, if there's anything that you get from this class, I want you to know that, the people that write these software, they're humans too, right? So, and we all kind of make mistakes at these kind of things. So it's important to know that, when you are using a software like this, to really be kind of critical of it, and use your knowledge of, not only, of course, what you learn in this class, but also, your knowledge of heat transfer and fluids to really kind of be critical of these situations and really know, when's the best time to use that. Okay. And the reality is, after you take this class, so I assume, a lot of you guys are either in your last semester or very close to it, or your grad students, very soon you're going to be, you're going to be considered as an expert, right? And so once you graduate from here and go on to a job, people are going to trust your word on a lot of these matters. Okay. And as an expert, it's your responsibility to really understand the tools that you're using and really be honest about its limitations and the best ways to use it. Okay. And just the last reason, that we want to learn this is that, new techniques are being researched every day, right? And so if you kind of want to stay on top of it, you really need to know the fundamentals and really kind of the core of what's going on, right? Because if you're just a user of a code, that's not the same thing as someone who's developed the code or someone who's really understands it. Okay? All right, so I'll give you an example, right? So an example, that I like to use is that of a veterinarian, right? And so for a vet, of course they need to know, they're what I call procedural skills, right? And so they need to know, how to give a shot to your animal, how to take blood samples and performing eye checks and ear checks, right? So these are kind of like, manual skills that I think that, we expect the veterinarians to know, right? But, in addition to those things, we need to know, we expect vets to also know, what I call conceptual knowledge too, right? So they need to know why we're giving the animal shots, right? So you don't want a vet to say, oh, I'm just going to give, these 4 shots to your animal just because, right? If a vet told you that, then like you'd probably not go there ever again, right? And so in the same way, if your pet is sick, you expect your vet to know, conceptually, what's going on and what you should do about it, right? You expect them to be able to interpret your animal's behavior, and if nothing's working, you expect them to come up with new treatments, right? And so everything that I've listed at the bottom there comes from kind of a deep conceptual understanding of veterinary medicine, right? And so it's the same thing with us and softwares, right? So not only do we need to know basically how to push the buttons and kind of use the software, we need to kind of know what are the concepts going on underneath. So when things aren't going well, we know basically how to do it, and we need to know the reasons why we're doing certain things as well. Okay. So are there any questions on that? So that's basically just the introduction to the course. And so what I want to do next was kind of give a tour of the course website and also go over the syllabus. But are there any questions just on, what this class is about, or anything I can answer before we move on? Yes, go ahead. I saw someone said they raised their hand. Oh, okay. Oh, there's been things in the chat. It's tough with PowerPoint. I can't see the chat. Right? Yeah. Definitely some good comments in the chat. Okay, so let's take a quick tour of the course website. Yeah, I need dual monitors. That's true. Yeah, I should get one. Okay. So most of the lectures are not going to be PowerPoint. So most of the lectures are going to be, I'm going to write it on the iPad. So usually I don't have difficulties reading the chat like this, but we won't be in PowerPoint anymore, so we can go ahead and use the chat. Okay. So here is our course website. So I have this kind of purple border right now because I'm viewing it in kind of student mode, and so I just want to give you guys kind of a perspective of how you guys would view it. Okay. And so when you first land on our Canvas site, you'll see the title of the course. So just to make sure that you're in the right place, right? You'll see my name. If you click here, you can see like my Tinder profile for teaching or whatever, right? And you can, here's my email in case you forget it, okay? And here are our class times, okay? And so we're in the middle of this. So they're Monday, Wednesday, 5:30 to 6:45 p.m., okay? Then you can read just kind of a brief description of the class. and our course level learning objectives. So, again, our learning objectives, these are going to be statements of, what you should be able to do and accomplish, by the end of the course. Okay. And so I wrote these learning objectives such that, we can, use them as kind of guiding principles for the entire course. Okay. You can download the PDF for the syllabus right here. So, and so if you're following along, you can definitely download it now. And then we're going to go over it kind of after this. Okay. And then here's all the Zoom links that we're going to use throughout this semester. So here's the one for the lecture that you're all viewing right now. And also the Zoom links for all the office hours as well. Okay. there's no Tinder for teachers, but it basically has that information. Yeah. Yeah, it has just, what are my interests, what I like to do, hobbies and things like that. Yeah, what classes I've taught. So here are the, the different office hours. So I have office hours on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, right? And I try, so what I try to do every semester with my office hours is to kind of vary their times and their days so that they're not kind of all stacked at the same time, okay? Because I know, especially at this point, I know you guys are really busy with other stuff. So I try to make myself kind of available at as many parts of the day as possible, right? So usually what I like to do actually is I usually like to have one office hour in the morning, one in kind of the early afternoon, and one in the late afternoon. But for this semester, all my teaching is kind of back-ended. So I'm teaching in the evenings basically on every day of the week. So because of that, I kind of have 2 in the afternoon right here. So and so the way office hours works is that you just during these times, I'll be sitting inside the Zoom room. And if you click the link, then you'll show up in the Zoom room, and then you can and then we can talk from there. Okay. And so if these times don't work with anyone, I'm always open to making private appointments too. So if there's something that you want help with something, and you can't make it to an office hour, just let me know, and I can set up a room for us to kind of chat, and so I can help you out. Okay. But these are kind of the office hours that I'll have every week. But again, if you want to make an appointment, definitely just let me know, and I'm open for that. Okay. Okay. So this next part here, this is something that's going to be unique for this semester, since it's totally virtual. What I wanted to do was kind of recreate the interactions that you'd be able to have in the classroom. Because normally, when you have a class, you can physically see other people, you can talk to them, ask them for help, work together on things. And obviously we can't do that because we're all, in our apartments. Okay. So to kind of recreate that, I've created a Discord server. Okay. And so you can click this link, and if you have a Discord account, you can basically join the server. Okay. And so this is optional. And so, if you don't want to do this, you don't want to make a Discord account, I totally understand that you don't have to do this, but I basically made this so that you can, interact with your friends or other people in the class, organize study groups, message me directly. A lot of people were messaging me directly on Discord last semester, which is, totally fine. Okay. And then you can have that. Okay. And so actually, let me tour our Discord server first. Okay. So I see that some people have joined. Okay. And so you can see it's just a very simple server. Okay. So I have 4 different channels here. So I have one for announcements. And so if there's anything that I have to kind of announce to the entire class, I'll do it here. Okay. But I'll also be sending announcements on Canvas too. So, I'll be basically putting the same information both. Although a lot of times I'll mostly just use Canvas for announcements. But if there's anything I just want to quickly say to people, I'll use Discord for that. Okay. I have a channel for introductions. And so, when you join the server, I'd like you to go onto the introductions channel and just, say your name and just a little bit about yourself, just so that everyone can kind of get to know you. So you can use that channel for that. Okay. I have a channel for questions. And so if you have questions about the homeworks or, the exams or a concept, that you don't understand, you can ask the question here. Okay. And what I hope is that, other people will jump in and answer the questions. And so I'll tell you right now that I've turned off notifications for this, for these, all the servers for my class, just because sometimes it can get kind of crazy with, 4 different classes messaging at the same time. And so, if you have a question and, and no one else can answer in the class, you can just tag me. And so you can just say, at professor, and just say, yo, help me, something like that. And then, you will summon me, and then I will arrive and I will answer your question. Okay. But, if you guys can kind of answer each other's questions, through this channel, by all means, definitely use that. But if, Summon me if you want. Okay. And of course, there's a channel for memes. So if you want to share jokes, so I see there's some action here already. Okay. And so if you want to share some comics, you can make fun of me in this channel, right? So remember, I don't have notifications on, so you can do all that stuff. This would be the place to do it. So this is kind of just a kind of an informal place where you can kind of just share some stuff here. Okay. So that's the Discord server, right? And then once you come down to the end or the bottom of the course website, you'll see the course outline. Okay. And so you can see here, I've broken down the entire course week by week. With just some, with all the topics that we plan to do, okay? And then as we go along throughout the semester, these links will become active and you can click them, okay? And so let's check the link for week 1, just so I can show you, what's going on, okay? And so you can see, for every week, what I'm going to do is I'll write you basically a couple paragraphs, just kind of summarizing what we're going to cover that week. I'll give you the learning objectives. So these are, everything that I want to accomplish that week and everything that I'm going to expect you to be able to do, okay, based on the lecture content, okay. The recorded lectures will be here too. So after every lecture, I basically upload the lectures onto YouTube. And then once those are done, I put the links here so that you can kind of access them easily, okay. And so if you're looking for a past lecture, you can come here and view them, okay. Any assignments that I assign will be here as well, okay? And so you can see there's one assignment already, which is just your introduction email, which we'll talk a bit more later. And any files that I upload, I'll put links to them here too, okay? So if you want to view the introduction slides, you can view them here. And then also the lecture notes for our next class period, which is the just a review of heat and heat transfer and fluids will be there as well, okay? And so any kind of homework solution or any kind of study guide or anything, any file that I basically upload, you can find links to them in their respective week from the course planner, okay? Okay, so are there any questions on the Canvas site so far? Dark mode.
Yeah, I have a question, Professor.
Yeah, what's up?
Are the lectures gonna be like on YouTube?
Yes.
Oh, because I remember I've seen like before the semester starts, I've seen some lectures on your channel for this course. So are the lectures gonna be duplicated, or you're gonna be replacing the old ones, or how it's gonna be?
So I'll keep the old ones up there. So those will be available, but then all the new lectures will be up as well.
So we're gonna be seeing both.
Yeah, if you view the old ones there, it's not going to be exactly the same because every semester the pace is always a little bit different. So it's going to be chopped up a little bit. And last time I recorded this was for spring 2020. And so that, if you remember, the virtual instruction didn't start till halfway. So there's only the second half of the lectures on there from last year.
Yeah, I've noticed.
Yeah. And so this one will have everything from the beginning. But then once we reach that same point in the semester, you might see some repeats for that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. For some reason, this Zoom call is not telling me when there's stuff in the chat, but I'm reading it now. Yeah, everyone makes fun of me for using light mode. Why is that? All my friends always like roast me for using light mode, but it's fine for me. Right. Do I take roll call? No. So there will be no roll call. I personally I think taking attendance just is kind of a waste of time. So I'm not going to be taking roll in the class. Yeah. Steam games. Let's talk about that after class. Okay. Any questions? Any more questions on this so far?
Hey, for the introduction to heat transfer and fluids notes, is that where you're going to be going over on Wednesday? You just made the PDF of that. I see.
Yeah. Yeah. So okay. whatever lecture notes for the week, I usually upload them on Friday. And those will be all the material for the following week. Yeah.
I see. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess I do a lot of squinting. Yeah, I don't know. Okay. So that's everything from the homepage. So come here for the Zoom links and also for the weekly viewer, and the syllabus course. Okay. So let's go over all the other links in the class. So first we have announcements. And so this tab, probably you won't come here all that much because, all the announcements will be sent automatically to your emails. But if you, for some reason, you want to see all the announcements together in one place, you can do that here, right? Right, so the next tab is assignments. And so this is where I'll be posting, all the assignments, all the homeworks, and then the exams will be from here too, okay? And so again, I'll have links to all these from all the weekly pages, but if you want to see all the assignments and all their due dates, you can come here for that, okay? Right, so the next tab is your grades, okay? And so on the right here, you can see a summary for how the grades are broken down. And once I start entering grades into the grade book, you can see summaries for all of those here as well, okay? So this is a place to go to check your grade. Next is people, so you can see the list of everyone in the class if you want, okay? And the last place that we'll check is files, okay? And so I know I'll be placing links for all the files, into each of the weeks. But if you just want to grab a file really quickly, or you want to come here and view all the assignments or all the lecture notes, you can come here for that. So this is kind of like almost like our Dropbox folder for the course, right? As you can see, I've organized it into different folders. So one folder will be for the assignments. And so there's no PDFs here yet, okay? There's another folder here for the lecture notes. You can see I have 3 lecture notes uploaded already. And so I have the lecture slides from today. I have the lecture slides for Wednesday. And then starting next week, or maybe even on Wednesday too, we'll be starting our MATLAB review, okay? Right. And so the next folder will be what I call the live lecture notes. And so again, today's lecture is a little bit unique because I'm using PowerPoint on my computer. But usually what I do is I write my notes on an iPad, right? And so after that, basically I save a PDF of everything that I write down and I upload that here as well, okay? So there's a folder for the project. So that's going to be for our final project. So, we'll talk about that maybe halfway through the semester. And any solutions to the homeworks or the exams will be here as well. Okay. Okay. So that's just a quick tour of the course website. Are there any questions that I can answer before we start talking about the syllabus? Okay. All right, so let's start going over the syllabus. Okay, so I'm gonna keep it in this mode because I think otherwise it's hard to view the chat. Okay. Okay, so first is office hours. So we talked about this before. So remember, my office is in my apartment, and these are all the times for the office hours, right? So again, if you can't make these times, or if you just want to speak to me, like on a Wednesday or something, or on a Friday, just let me know. I'm always happy to kind of make an appointment and and create just a Zoom room for us to chat. Okay. And so office hours typically, if you have questions about the content, so you were confused about, what I went over last lecture, you have questions on the homework or questions about the exams, that's, office hours are the place to ask questions for those. Okay. Or if you just want to stop by and just say hi and introduce yourself, that's fine too. Okay. So I already had one office hours today, which is, kind of an awkward time because, no lectures had happened at the time yet for me. So no one came, so it was just kind of lonely. So, if you want to stop by and just say hi, I'm always down for that too. Okay, so here's our course level learning objectives. So, we talked about this on the course website, but again, these are basically the learning objectives that I'm using to basically organize the entire course. Okay, and so what I'm hoping by the end of the class is that you'll be able to do everything here on this list. Okay. Okay, let's talk homeworks and exams. Okay, so right now I have 7 homework assignments that are planned, 2 midterm exams, and 1 final project. Okay, and so the homeworks, and I do this for all my classes. The lowest homework grade will be dropped, because I know that I know you guys are really busy and your schedules are crazy. So I want to give you the flexibility so that you don't have to be perfect on every homework assignment, but please still do them all, right? And so, the homeworks and the exams and the project will all be based on the same material. And so if you can, the homeworks are what I consider the homeworks are kind of your first chance to kind of grapple with material and kind of, implement that as your first try, right? And so if you do all the homeworks, and you understand them really well, you're going to be in great shape for the exams and also for the project. Okay. Okay, and then also since this is an elective class, so I do this for all my electives just because it's, I figured, if you chose, it's not like we force you to take this class. You chose to be here, because you're interested in the topic. So I'm not going to grade your homeworks for correctness. So the homeworks will be graded just purely on completion. Right? And so what that means is that when I grade your homeworks, I'm basically going to be looking through, and if I see that, you completed every problem and you gave it kind of a good effort, you didn't just write down the problem and just some, just random stuff. You actually, actually tried it. Then I'm going to give you full credit for that. Okay. But because of that, I'm not going to be going through and giving you a lot of feedback on your homework. So, it's going to be your responsibility to, once the homeworks are turned in, and I post the solutions, I'm going to be counting on you guys to actually go through the solutions and to prepare for the exams. Okay. And speaking of the exams, the exams are not going to be cumulative. And so, the first midterm will just be, that chunk of work. And by the time we get to the second midterm, none of the first midterm stuff will be on there. Okay. But, for the final project, you're going to need, concepts and information from the entire course. So, definitely, don't forget the stuff, keep it all in your mind, and then, we'll, because you're going to need it throughout the course. Okay. Okay, so here are the dates that are planned for the exams. Okay, and so our midterms will be taking place in class, and then the final project will be due the Sunday after finals week. Okay, so this is basically the very last Sunday of the semester, so Sunday, May 23rd, at 11:59 p.m. Okay, and so I want to address the exams for a second, because I know there's some people who had me last semester, and so last semester, my exams were 24 hours, and so this semester, they're going to be timed. Just because, I had a lot of instances of academic dishonesty that happened last semester. So I do want to cut down on that. And so to do that, I'm going to make the exams just take place during the lectures. Okay. And so, this means that, you're going to have less time for the exam, and I'm going to make the exam shorter to kind of compensate. Okay. And so, we'll talk about this more once the exam rolls around, but I'm basically going to be cutting the length of the exam by about 30% to kind of help you out with that. Okay. Okay, so let me stop for questions a bit, okay? But do people have any questions? I'm gonna go through the chat in a minute, but does anyone have any verbal questions they want to ask?
For the assignment for grad students, when is that gonna be announced?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So we're gonna talk about that a bit later. But for grad students, you're right, that you guys do need to have an extra assignment. So that's the way that takes form in this class is you're gonna have an extra component to your final project.
Okay.
Yeah. So so your final project will be a little bit longer than the undergrads. Yeah.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So question from the chat is, will the homeworks be written in code, or will it be handwritten? So it'll be both. And so, for the homeworks, I'm going to expect you to do some hand calculation stuff based on, the concepts. But you're also going to have to code on basically every homework assignment. You're going to have to write, a pretty decent amount of MATLAB code. So, you're going to have to do both for the assignments, right? And so the question is, are the tests based on the code? Like, do we have to solve MATLAB problems? Yeah, it's a good question. So, typically when I teach this class, the exams take place in the lecture room. So, it's a bit harder to do MATLAB problems there. But, because this is virtual, we can do some MATLAB stuff. But I'm thinking I'm going to keep it the same as I've typically done, where for the exams, it's going to be focused on just the theory and the concepts. So you won't have to use MATLAB at all for the exams. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then the question is, will the final project be group or will it be solo? So the final project will be solo. So everyone's going to turn in a final project, right? So you can definitely work together with people, but I don't want you guys copying code from each other. So definitely, you can talk to each other and, debug together, but, everyone needs to write their own code and everyone needs to write their own report. Yeah. Okay. All right. Any other questions on this before I move on?
Yeah, I'm a little confused, Professor, about the exams. So are we gonna be tested only on the theory in the exams, without coding? Like we're not gonna be using MATLAB during the exam, or
right?
Or how it's going to be?
Right. So during the exams, it's just going to be on the concept. So it's going to be short answer questions, and then this will make more sense, after we kind of get started with the content. But basically, what I'm going to have you do for the problem solving ones is kind of set up kind of set up the equations that you would implement for the code, right? And so you'll see as we kind of start getting through the class that this class is more than just kind of typing things into MATLAB. So there's a lot of setup that you actually should do on paper first. And then once you set the problem up on paper, then you go in and you implement that in the code. And so, the exams are going to test you on kind of that first setup phase for, how do you take basically a differential equation, or how do you take a heat equation, and how do you set it up in a way that the computer can understand it. So that's stuff you do by hand, and that's what you're going to do for the exams. Yeah. Okay. So that's all the homeworks and the exams. Okay. And so here's how the course grade is going to be broken down. Okay. And so the homeworks, you saw this on the Canvas site, the homeworks will be worth 10%. Each of the midterms will be 25%, and then the final project will be 40%. Okay. Oh, this is not true. All the homeworks will count the same. Okay. Okay. And then so based on, after all the grades are in and based on your final, course percentage, I'll assign the letter grades according to this scale right here. So this is fairly standard stuff. Okay. And if you're on the border, of course, we can talk about at the end. I usually am pretty generous with rounding, right? And usually this isn't an issue with my electives because the grades tend to be a little bit higher. But if the course grades, if the final course average for everyone in the class is below a 75%, I tend to scale the grade. So I add basically a flat amount of points to everyone's grades, so that the course average is 75%. But typically, for these elective classes, people tend to do pretty well. And so I haven't had to do this, especially for the virtual instruction too. But, if we do get to the end and the course grades are low, then I will scale it such that, the average is 75%. Okay. Okay. Yeah, plus minus. I do round though, so it's I tend to be pretty generous with that. Okay, textbooks. So the textbooks are not required because actually I'm going to be jumping between these textbooks quite a bit, and I don't want you guys going out and buying 2 different textbooks. Although this first one is actually not pretty cheap because it's paperback, and so they're not going to be required. So I'm going to be posting all my lecture notes and everything's going to be based on that. But if you do want like a useful reference, like if you plan on pursuing this, further in your career, or if you want to, do a personal project with this, these 2 textbooks are pretty good. So I like these quite a bit. Okay. But again, they're not required. But if you do tend to pick them up, if you do want to pick them up, don't, I tell this to everyone, don't pay full price for a textbook. It's not worth it. You don't have to get the latest version of the textbook because, we haven't made any huge breakthroughs in heat transfer in the last, 100 years or so. So find a cheap edition. And if you can find a free one where you don't have to pay a textbook publisher, then that's even better, because I still believe that the textbook publishers are run by the mafia. Okay. All right, so let's talk programming. So this is going to be a big thing in this class. So this class is going to be really heavy on the programming, right? And so I'm basically planning this class with the assumption that you guys have some experience with programming. So I assume that for most of you guys are going to be MATLAB, but if you wanted to use Python too, that's fine as well. Okay. And so we are going to be spending quite a bit of time reviewing MATLAB next week, but it's going to be pretty quick. So I'm not going to be reteaching you MATLAB. So we're just going to be basically spending maybe a lecture and a half on it. So brush off those old 205 notes and really get ready to kind of hit the ground running with the programming, because we're going to go kind of fast. Okay. And so if you feel a little bit uneasy with your programming skills or your MATLAB, definitely let me know, and we can, try to get you up to speed with some stuff. Okay. But, I want to warn you guys right now that this class it's going to be a lot of code development. So by the end of the course, probably you guys are going to be writing, somewhere in the like 5,000, 6,000 lines of code, throughout this entire semester. So it's going to be a lot. So, definitely be ready for that. I'll be here to kind of walk you through it kind of as best I can, but, it's going to be a lot of typing and a lot of debugging. Okay. Right. The trombone is back. Okay. So let's talk course website. So, we just went through this, but, on the Canvas site, I'm basically gonna be posting all the lecture notes, all the homework assignments, all the solutions and stuff, all the study guides. So, basically any material that I produce for the class will be on Canvas, okay? Oh, and for this class too, so, when I do give you your homeworks, and especially for the projects, I always like to give you some starter code. And so, I usually don't ask you to basically write code from scratch, right? I usually give you kind of a skeleton for the assignments and with some comments, and to basically tell you where I want you to fill in some code too. So all the starter code will be posted on Canvas as well, okay? And so the announcements, just like we talked about, all those will be made to Canvas, and they'll be emailed to you as well, okay? There's going to be a Discord server. We've already talked about that, okay? And remember, the Discord server is for you guys. So, I'm basically going to be, I'm not going to be on the Discord server all that much, right? Because I know the feeling of like, when I was little, my parents wouldn't let me go to see PG-13 movies without them. And so my parents were like, oh yeah, we can go to the movies with your friends with you. And I'm like, no, I don't want you being there. So, I'm not going to be in the Discord server all that much. It's really for you guys to kind of interact with each other. But if you summon me, I will come. But otherwise, I'm going to be kind of hands off with that. Okay, so let's talk some course policies, right? So let's start with homework. So I do accept late homework, just because I know a lot of things come up, and so just because so if you miss like a due date for homework, I don't want you to just kind of give up on that. And so I still want you to do it, but because it's late, I will have to dock some points. So basically, my policy is that each day that the homework assignment is late, I'm going to dock 10% of its points. Okay. And if for some reason you can't submit your homeworks on Canvas, you can always email your homeworks to me, and then I can grade it there as well. Okay. Regrades. I make mistakes. If you've had me before, I make a lot of mistakes. And so if you get basically a homework or an exam back, and you think and you want to discuss, you think that you deserve more points, definitely let me know. I'm always happy to look at things again, because I make mistakes on these things all the time, right? But my policy is that if you want to regrade, you have to ask me within a week after I return it to you. Okay. So don't come to me and basically like week 14 of the semester with I should have given you more points on midterm 1 in week 15, because then that's a bit too much, right? And the reason I do this is because when I do give you guys feedback on things, I want you guys to be reading it, right away, right? And the reason for that is, when you get feedback on something and you kind of wait too long to kind of read that feedback, it kind of loses its impact of it, right? Like if you got information about, how, or feedback on the problems you got wrong on midterm 1, but you're not viewing that until the very end of the course, then it's not really going to be helpful for you guys, because midterm 1 happened like 2 months ago, right? And so, I have this regrade policy to basically encourage you guys to, when I do grade things and when I do get things back to you, I want you guys to be reading them, to read that feedback and kind of, try to implement that as quickly as possible. Okay. All right. So emails. So when you email me about this course, please include the tag EGME 417 in the subject line, just to kind of help me organize my emails, because I'm teaching 4 classes this semester. So it really helps me organize my inbox if you kind of tell me what course you're asking for, because with 4 different classes, if someone emails me, it's like, can you look at my homework 3? I have no idea where to start looking for that, because then I have to go through the class roster and all that stuff. So if you put the name of the class in the subject line of the email, it really does help me a lot. Okay? And if you do that, I tend to be pretty quick with my email responses. So you can expect a response from me within 48 hours at the latest. So usually I can get back to you same day, or at the worst the next day, but worst case 48 hours I'll get back to you. Okay. All right. Any questions so far? Okay. Okay, graduate credit. So there's a question asked about this earlier, but if you're a grad student taking this course, you can get graduate credit for that. But as the policy from the department is, you must complete something additional. So I think in the exact wording, it's an additional assignment, but it can be just anything extra. Okay. And so, the details of this will be made clear kind of later in the semester. But basically, you're going to have an extra component to your final project. Okay, because the final project for the undergrads, I'll basically give you basically 2 different options for how you want to approach it. But if you're a grad student, you have to do both. So that's basically how it's going to be. Okay, but it's not going to be double the work because there's going to be a lot of overlap between the 2 approaches. But that's that's basically what you can expect. Okay. Okay. Academic dishonesty. So this is my always my least favorite thing to talk about every semester, but it always has to be done, especially now in the virtual environment. Just as throughout the entire university, we've seen kind of academic dishonesty go up. Okay, but just because it's virtual, doesn't change the rules or anything like that. So any kind of academic dishonesty won't be tolerated. Okay, and so if you do commit academic dishonesty, at the very least, you're going to get a 0 on that assignment and a referral to student conduct. But if it happens on something serious, on like an exam or the final project, you can get up to an F in the course. And and I have done that, especially last semester quite a bit too. Okay, and the form that this usually takes in a virtual environment is that of course it's easy to kind of chat with your friends during exam, of course, but I've also seen cases where people are taking the exam questions and uploading them to like online forums or onto Chegg or onto websites that kind of help with that stuff too. So please don't do this, because it's tough, because when you cheat, it really just takes away from your learning. And you guys, at the end of the day, you guys are here to kind of learn this material, right? And if you cheat, that it really takes away from that. But I promise you that if you ever feel like you're struggling in the course, or you're stressed about an exam, or you don't think you're going to get it in time, just please talk to me first. Like I'm here to help you. I really believe that my job here is to help everyone succeed, right? And so if you come talk to me and say, even like 5 minutes before the exam, it's like, Professor, I don't feel great about this exam. I don't know what's going to do. Then, I can work with that. I can work with you, and we can work something out so that, we can, either give you more time for the exam, or, we can take the exam at a different date, or I can help you learn the concepts, before the exam too. So, I've held so many, private kind of sessions for students to kind of help them, understand the course. But, what I ask for you guys is please give me a chance before you resort to cheating. Because, if you cheat, then there's nothing I can do at that point, because, we have very strict policies on that, and I have to kind of carry through with that. So, if you ever feel like you're struggling, and if you, and you don't think you're going to do well in the class, just please talk to me. I'm always going to be there to help you. So I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to lecture you or anything like that. I'm really just here to kind of help you out to the best of my ability. Okay. And so with that, we've reached the end of the introduction slides. And so, before we go, I want to tell you about your first homework assignment. And so your first homework assignment is just to send me an email just to introduce yourself. Okay. And so I do this for every semester. So, I don't care if I've had you as a student, 3 times already, please still send me your introductions, because, you're not the same person as you were, last semester. So, update me on your life, or, if this is your first time, tell me about yourself. Right. And so make sure you at least include your name, your year, and your major, so I can give you credit for that. Okay. And just some questions that you can consider for your introduction email, I've listed here. So, so some questions you can consider are what kind of career would you like to have after graduating? What would you like to learn from this course in particular? Okay. Do you have any worries or concerns about taking this course? And, just what are your interests and hobbies? Okay. And so you don't have to answer all these questions. Yeah, you can answer none of them. You can just send me an email and say, hi, my name is this, please give me credit, and I will give you credit, because that's all the assignment is. But, the more detail you can write about yourself, the more I personally enjoy, because, I really enjoy, getting to know you guys, and, because what that helps me to do is it helps me kind of tailor this course to your interests, and to kind of make sure that this course is helpful to people as possible. Okay. And so if you can send me your emails by 11:59 this Friday, then, I can get back to you and I can give you credit. Okay. And please make sure to write, or please make sure to include EGME 417 in the subject line. especially for this assignment. So that, because when I go to grade these, what I like to do is I just like to search EGME 417, and then everyone's names comes up on my email, and I can just give everyone credit really, really easily. So please make sure to include that in the subject line. Okay. Okay. So are there any questions on this? Steam. Okay. Yeah. After this. Okay. So there's no more questions. So I know we have about 20 more minutes, but it's the first day. So I thought, I'd end a little bit early. So, let you guys go, have a little bit, 20 more minutes of your evening. So thank you everyone for tuning in to our first lecture. So, this is going to be the first of, another long virtual journey that we're going to take. So thank you guys for tuning in. I'll stick around to, I'll share my Steam library, I guess. But if you don't want to see my Steam library, I guess, I'll see you guys on Wednesday. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Professor. Have a good night.
Thanks, you too. Actually, yeah, I'll add you on Steam if you want.
Professor, is there any overlap between this class and the 442, the cardiovascular engineering?
Yeah, so they're going to be quite different, actually. So this class will be focusing a lot more on the computational methods. 442 will be a lot more on the application. So I think with 442, I think the interesting thing is, how do we apply, engineering stuff to biomedical? So there's a lot that we need to learn in that class of, what biomedical stuff do we need to learn and how can we actually apply this? This class kind of gets really into the nitty gritty of, how do we actually write the code to do that?
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, any more questions on the course before you all judge me for my Steam library, I guess? Okay, so that's all the important stuff. So, if you have to take off and you don't want to see my Steam library, you can take off. But, I guess we have some time so we can look at my Steam games. Okay, so here are my Steam games, right? So I've definitely fallen into the trap of I'll play this someday and I buy things that are on sale on Steam, but I've never touched. So I probably only played about maybe 30% of my Steam library, but here's all my games. Okay? And so actually the games that I've, the game that I'm actually playing a lot recently is called Bloons Tower Defense.
I'm here to judge you too.
Okay, yeah, my fiance here is here to judge me as well. Yeah, so it was on sale and on the winter Steam sale for $1, and I guess and a lot of my friends are I guess they saw some streamers playing it, so they're like, yeah, let's buy it. It's only $1. So so we bought it and we've actually been playing it a lot. So you can see I've gotten 21.5 hours on this for a game that cost $1. That's pretty value right there. And so besides that, I actually like to play a lot of JRPGs actually. And so I grew up playing a lot of, so actually like this one right here, Tales of Symphonia, this was probably one of my favorite games growing up. And so I was really happy when they put it on Steam. And so I play a lot of games that are kind of in this genre as well. Half-Life, yeah, that was one thing I bought. It was on sale, and then I've never played it. Witcher, yes, that's I do want to play The Witcher. I do have it, all 3 of them, and I've played none of them. I have played Vesperia, yes. I played it originally when it was on Xbox, and then I got the Steam version too. Yeah. But my fiance finds one of the characters really annoying in Vesperia, so I haven't actually finished it.
That's not my fault.
Yeah, I do want to play Witcher quite a bit. Yeah, I love Mass Effect 2. Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, ending, of course, there's a lot of debate on that, but I still enjoyed it quite a bit. Witcher 2 is trash. Okay. Yeah, I love Final Fantasy. I played actually quite a bit of them. Which is funny because I don't consider myself a big Final Fantasy fan, but I played 1, I played 2, I played 4, I played 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10 to 12, and most of 13. Yeah. No, I played 7. Yeah. I haven't played 5 yet, though. Yeah, Maple Story. Yep, still alive. I grew up, I played the beta in Maple Story, if you can believe that. Yeah, Sonic Adventure 2 is on PC. I love Sonic Adventure 2. I used to be able to sing a City Escape from memory, but now I can't. Don't ask me to sing it. I'm not going to sing it. Disgaea, yes, I have Disgaea. I do want to play it. I haven't gotten a chance to play it yet, too. Port's good. Yeah, I like it. I'm not going to sing it. Don't ask me. I'm sad about Terra because I downloaded it actually last year, but apparently the community's not what it used to be. But one of my friends said it was great back in the day. Yeah, Tree of Savior, I play that too. I love the look of Tree of Savior, but I haven't had enough time to really sink into it too. Yeah, I heard the company that managed Terra sold it too. Yeah. I did this in my earlier lecture today. We didn't look at my Steam library, but we spent a lot of time talking about games, which I admit I didn't expect to spend my first day talking about that, doing this. Rainbow Six, I've heard is very good, but I haven't played it. Yeah, Persona. Actually, my first Persona was Persona 5. And then after, I played that and I loved it. And a friend of mine actually gifted me Persona 4. So I'm actually playing through that right now too. Yeah. I love Yu-Gi-Oh! Yeah. I love this game because it lets you play through the story scenarios too. Yeah. Yeah, I have a cat.
Oh yeah.
She had dinner, but she's always cranky. She's a cranky old lady.
Is the camera on?
Yeah.
Oh. Where's the cat?
There's my cat. Cats are always fake hungry.
Can they hear our neighbor?
Yeah, they can hear.
Oh, I am so sorry, guys. They wake me up, actually.
Yeah. I told them that the trombone plays at random times throughout the day. Sometimes it's first thing in the morning. Sometimes it's like in the evening. Sometimes it's at lunch. It just whatever they feel like.
Oh my gosh, it's always the same 5
Pest
songs
channel.
too.
You share it on the memes channel. It's a little annoying, but it's not too loud, so it's not that bad.
Because of the character. He's like not the best player either.
My PC setup is a laptop, so it's not the best setup. I do want to build my own rig sometime, but it's no, maybe once I settle down into a more permanent place. Your cat isn't a meme. I understand.
She's a meme?
Because I said you can share pictures of your cat. So because on our class Discord, I have a memes channel.
Yeah.
And then someone said my cat isn't a meme.
You should just make a cats channel.
Okay, I'll make a pets channel.
Yes, pet pics.
Yeah, I do feel like a Twitch streamer. All right, see you guys on Wednesday.
Bye guys.
All right, thanks. See you guys.
Angel, you're the master of insurance, bro. I'm gonna make a set list of all the songs.